Man, this game is really, really fun, but I'm not done with it yet. What should I talk about? Oh, I know. Kirby! Yeah! Kirby games are weird. Like, besides the obvious, Kirby games are actually incredibly interesting to take a deeper look at. Case in point, the boss battles. Mostly the final bosses, but bosses of the series in general. When you think Kirby with little to no familiarity of the series, I'm sure that most people think things like a big cuddly penguin with a hammer or a fluffy cloud. But then stuff like psychotic bastards, brainwashed insects, a businessman trying to mechanize planets, darkness-infused eyeballs that bleed twice, and just God. I'm sure that these types of bosses are not some of the kind of bosses you would expect of a Kirby game. Now, as this video will cover a lot of final bosses along with some normal bosses in the series, beware of spoilers. Also, this is not a top 10 video. I was thinking of making one but couldn't decide on what, so you're getting this instead. Let's start off simple with a recurring boss that perfectly represents early Kirby in almost every game, DDD. He's just a big penguin with a wooden hammer. Hell, a lot of time he isn't even a bad guy. In most recent games, he is just a straight up friend, and anytime there's a boss fight with him, he is under possession. He's also a good introduction to the basics of what Kirby is and was believed to be, which makes it all the more disturbing and crazy later on. Even when his boss fights get interesting, such as Masked DDD, it is still a Kirby type of boss. Trust me, this easygoing aspect won't last long. Midnight is where some interesting aspects of bosses start to happen, but it's still within the wheelhouse of the cuddly destroyer of worlds. It also helps that the fights are also a joy every time he is presented as a boss in any game he appears in. He's clearly the same race as Kirby, whatever that may be, but after over 20 years, who or what Midnight is has never been explained. Regardless, the mentor figure is a classic in media, but Midnight has the benefit of also being a rival, and as I have stated numerous times before, those are my favorite. He provides a fair bit of challenge and fits the aesthetic of Kirby. And he's just a badass. The one that starts to lead into, this isn't a Kirby game, but still fitting enough to not be weird, is Dark Matter from Dreamland 2. It is a great design, and where it is small and non-threatening enough to keep up appearances of early Kirby bosses, while also giving a dark enough design to be considered a final boss. It is a great mix of ramping up the tone and making it darker, while still having the final boss look like a plush you can buy. Not to mention, a sword fight in space is fucking epic, and here is where we can see the early concept of over-the-top Kirby bosses. He does have a second form, but I think I'll go into that a bit with the next boss. And now we get into the bosses that make you question how kid-friendly Kirby really is. Dreamland 3's Zero fight seems fine enough starting out, and it is. Just your average run-of-the-mill floating eyeball of darkness that then turns into a giant ping-pong ball with an irritated eye. However, we then get... So let me get this straight. Nintendo games, while usually light and happy, have had dark and serious material. Hell, some games might even have mild swearing and even a small amount of blood. But in a Kirby game of all things, we get straight up gore. And I think it was still rated E. Ow. What? Yeah, if you were avoiding Kirby because you thought it was a game for babies, 1, Kirby is a manly game that only the manliest of men can play, and 2, I'm sure that this can change minds very fast. And the fight is tough to boot. I think the only reason the game got away with this is because the graphics are still cartoony, but even then this boss, I say, kicked off the trend of making Kirby final bosses not what anyone expects. Now, how about we see this again, but in 3D? Thematically and aesthetically, Zero 2 isn't very different than the previous Zero. In fact, visually wise, it's just a more detailed version of Zero, but with wings and a halo. I'd argue that this one is not as effective as the previous Zero, as while there's still blood spewing from his eye each time he is hit, it's only blood and no gouging. The jump to 3D did not make things more shocking. However, it did make it more creepy and disturbing. Why? Well, the music. Now, obviously since I'm an adult, I just find this to be very good music with great composition and just the smallest amount of an epic feel to show that yes, this is the final boss. But imagine you're a kid playing this for the first time, and you hear this music while shooting an angel in the eye while it cries blood. It is unsettling. It's just so fascinating and unnerving. Perfect Christmas gift. Get your kids this game, it won't scar them, I swear. Just read the comments in any video regarding the boss or the music. Perfectly sane people. Of course, how can I forget to talk about another iconic Kirby boss, Marx. Easy. His original boss fight is nothing special. Well, there goes any credibility I have as a Kirby fan. But if you really think about it, who is Marx? Someone made to just be a villain and that's it. Now, his fight is great and well designed, but it's surprising he doesn't have the creepiness of some bosses or the over-the-top fights of modern Kirby games. It is, surprisingly, the perfect example of the general idea of what a Kirby final boss would be like. Mark's soul, on the other hand, is a step in the right direction. His design is slightly more creepy, his fight is much harder, and his death is pretty horrifying. The boss fights are always good and fun, but surprisingly standard. Although I will give the benefit of the doubt and mention Galactonite. It is a bit of the evolution of how Meta Knight was introduced, but now with even more mystery, and this is shown by having Meta Knight face off against this new knight. Same race, lack of information, really fun fight, rival status, it's all the same, but just an updated version, yet it still fits Kirby. However, it does manage to be a bit over the top that the boss fight is a sword fight on an asteroid in space while rock music in a Kirby game blares in the background! God, I want this character to have an actual plot relevance and not just be a bonus boss. Give us a game based around the Star Warriors, damn it! Now we get to Magolor. The actual fight itself is a great fight that is challenging and well done, but doesn't really do much in terms of making people freak out due to creepiness or coolness. Sure, there's a giant laser attack and some cool uses of the Ultra Copy abilities, but that's about it. But the fight before it is not exactly something I think anyone expected. You are riding a dragon while shooting at a starship that is shooting back. That is amazing! Granted, the dragon is cute and very small, but the concept of a dragon fighting a spaceship is incredible. The fight itself is great, though. Sectonia from Trouble Deluxe is interesting. I may not personally be a fan of the game, and I believe on a gameplay level that her fights aren't anything special, but visually she's great. It always escalates until we get Queen Sectonia doing her best Poison Ivy impression, while Kirby fights her in Hypernova mode, and it is glorious. There is a bit of a lull with one section dealing with shooting Kirby out of a cannon, but it is all worth it for that final attack. Oh, yeah, that's the stuff. She even has a surprisingly sad backstory. But have fun breaking the pace of the fight and destroying the tension to read up on her, since you had to pause the game every time to find out more about her. I may not like this game all that much, and I might not like Sectonia either, but you cannot deny how cool her fight is. The final boss of Robobot brings the crazy even further. It starts off with President Haltman, which is just a harder version of the Susie fight. Good boss fight, but that's not really the boss I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Star Dream computer boss fight, which is just Kirby doing its best to be Gurren Lagann. Again, visually it is spectacular, but it also managed to be a bit of a challenge, given that it has multiple boss phases and it has some tricky attacks, especially since you need to get used to the new shooting mechanics that have been introduced. The arena version of this fight is so difficult that it is the only arena game in all of the Kirby games that I own that I have not completed yet. What adds on to the awesomeness of this fight is that, like I mentioned before, it's just Gurren Lagann. I just look at it, it's just Gurren Lagann. In Meta Knight's mode, it also serves as a callback machine, allowing you to fight Dreamland 2's Dark Matter, Queen Sectonia again, and the return of Galactonite. This boss fight is just the epitome of awesome, nostalgic, and challenging boss fights in the franchise. And let's end this on the most recent final boss fight, Highness and Void Termina. This game actually manages to not only bring back the creepy boss that has been lacking for a bit, but also has the most visually impressive and crazy final boss in the series. To me, an adult, Highness is more silly and goofy than creepy, but to a young kid, a mysterious hooded figure talking too fast to comprehend, only to see his true face pop up out of nowhere is pretty unsettling. Hell, I think that the creepiest thing about him is how he turned out the way he did, or if he was always like that. Then there's Void Termina, who is just a god. The fight itself has so many cool moments, with Void being huge, the slow-mo that happens when you cross him, the battle inside him. There are just a lot of great moments in this fight, and the final clash is fantastic. Too bad the fight itself sucks from a challenge perspective. The biggest thing these bosses do is create more lore for the series. Yes! Kirby, of all things, has lore. Dark Souls? Yes. Nier? Uh-huh. Kirby? What? What the fuck? So what have we learned today? Did I repeat the whole point of the video too much throughout the video and not save it for the end? Yeah, that works. I think the real point is that Kirby has some amazing boss fights, and have always had elements in it that far outclass the general tone of the franchise, and that's a good thing. The unexpected nature of these bosses make things engaging and memorable. That, and also the bosses are only going to get crazier, and I will love it. One day we will get a boss fight so crazy that it will literally blow the minds of every single Kirby fan, but also hopefully be a good game to go around that moment instead of just a cool fight but underwhelming game like Star Allies. Kirby games seem to be the poster Nintendo franchise for the phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover," because that book will have a boss fight in space while blood spews out of its pages. Let's start off simple with a recurring boss that perfectly represents early Kirby in almost every game, DDD. He's just a big penguin with a wooden hammer. Hell, a lot of time he isn't even a bad guy. In most recent games, he's just straight up friend. He's just straight up friend. Come on, a straight up friend. Ugh, come on. He's straight up friend to Kirby. Now, how about we see this again, but in 3D? Thematically and aesthetically, Zero 2 isn't very different from the Finn. I don't know why I'm saying Finn over and over. Okay. However, it does manage to be a bit over the top in that the boss fight is a sword fight on an asteroid in space while rock music in a Kirby game blares. While rock music in a Kirby game blares in Blackgorn. What the fuck? Rock music in a Kirby game blares in the Blackgorn. I typed too fast. Okay, hold on. Oh. Background. Backgorned. The Backgorned. Jesus Christ. Sure, there's a giant laser attack and some cool usage of the ultra copy abilities, but that's about it. But the fight before but the Benamina, he's been a hidrubu, Sibilitabu, Hadubu, her, Herdubu, Ba, Bagata Bagapa, Baka Badapa, Habawawa, Ha! Okay, let me try this again. Oh my god. Sectonia from Chill Deluxe is interesting. I may not personally be a fan of the game, and I believe on a gameplay level that her fights aren't anything special, but visually she's great. It always escalates until we get Queen Sectonia doing her best Poison Ivy impression while Kirby fights her in Hypernova mode, and it is glorious. There's a bit of a lull with one section dealing with Kirby shooting